So on the 16th of December 1914, Britain had been at war for just 4 months. And in Scarborough on that day, just before 8 a.m, people getting up and going about their routines, mothers waking the children, maids preparing breakfast, and postmen and delivery drivers were out on the streets. As the shops opened for business, a young Boy Scout ran to buy a newspaper to see if there was a report on Lord Baden-Powell's recent visit to the town. So, of course, Baden-Powell, the founder of the... beautiful, Alice in Colours, the founder of the Scouts movement, and up on the castle, on the rocky promontory, so we'll look at it from the harbour length, you'll get a good shot. Police Constable Hunter was on duty with 2 Coast Guards at the coastal station, and despite their elevated position, their view was hampered by heavy mist and fog. Anchored in the bay below was the steam trawler St Cloud. The captain had sailed into the bay earlier that morning and was having trouble finding the town because of the fog. The lighthouse had not been lit since the war had been declared, so obviously for the defence, obviously. So the captain of St Cloud was among the first to see these 3 warships as they rounded Castle Hill into the bay, heading swiftly and surely towards Scarborough. He was surprised because at first he thought they were British warships, and they were far closer to the shore than any he'd seen before. But his surprise, of course, quickly turns to horror when he saw them hoist the German war flag and open fire on the undefended town. A few minutes later, further up the coast, German warships also began to attack Hartlepool, which had a garrison and 3 naval guns. Thank you, Wendy. I don't know if there'd be e-books. They're sort of... I'll post a link to the boats you can look. What was called Van der Kam, de Hurfling, I think the other one called. I can't remember the name of the third, but you're about to find out the class of what they were. So as soon as St Cloud's captain realised they were German, firing at the harbour, he starts firing back, but they're not really kind of within range. And by this time, the Germans have moved because they've set the sights on another prey, is the castle. So they now really begin hammering the castle. I've got a picture, it's slightly touched up here, but there is a contemporary picture of during the shelling of the castle in 1914. So intense was the assault that during this 3-day bombardment, the walls of the 12th century Great Tower split in 2, causing the building to kind of collapse in half. And that's what you look at it now, is much more to do with the German attack than it actually is to do with deterioration up until that point. The Coast Guard's lookout shelter was destroyed. The Coast Guards and PC Hunter had they left moments early to summon help. But as the kind of shells rained down, they were forced to shelter beside the 18th century water tank in the underground vault. The castle's great tower and south-facing walls were damaged, and an 18th century barracks, which had been the one used to house the prisoners, the Jacobite prisoners, was also damaged kind of beyond repair. So it really took a hell of a hammering. And in the town, more than 500 high-explosive shells fell in about 20 minutes, inflicting terrible damage on the buildings of every description. Shops and houses and hotels, churches, schools, hospitals. Nobody was spared. The German ships then moved off at speed, headed to Whitby, which suffered a brief bombardment. In total, 17 people were killed in Scarborough that morning, with 2 others dying later of their wounds, and more than 80 were wounded seriously. So, overall, in Scarborough, Whitby and Hartlepool, 137 people died. Yeah, German battleships, that's right, yeah. So although Hartlepool suffered more casualties and greater destruction, it was the civilian deaths in Scarborough that caused the greatest outrage. So news soon spread of those who had been killed going about their everyday lives. The victims include a postman, Mr. Beale, as he delivered letters, and a maid, Miss Crosby, as she prepared breakfast for employers. And the last person hit was 15-year-old George Taylor on his way to buy his newspaper. He was the only Boy Scout to be killed in the First World War. Now, bear in mind, people knew Scarborough. They'd visited Scarborough, so this really touched a nerve. I love the light. I mean, I wouldn't normally get excited about a fairground, but the light against that night sky, I think is just fabulous. So this happened very, very early in World War I. It's a kind of real tremendous shock for the British people. As I say, many had visited Scarborough, so they knew it. They felt associated. They felt an affinity to it, like a lot of you do. So it was a real shock for them. Scarborough had no defences, just an ancient church castle and a kind of small naval wireless station. So one US reporter wrote, 3 quiet, peaceful towns have felt the rain of shells. Almost 50 non-combatants, men, women, children perhaps, have met their death from hurtling missiles. This is not warfare, this is murder. And as the First Lord of the Admiralty, Winston Churchill faced criticism for the lack of kind of preparedness and the ineffective response of the British Navy, in a rousing speech he branded the Germans the baby killers of Scarborough. It was a mark of outrage felt the attack on the defence of civilians that Remember Scarborough became a rallying cry for recruiting officers across the nation. The attack featured on a range of recruitment posters, which prompted men to enlist in large numbers. I've got a picture of the one of those posters. Hang on one sec. There you go. So a first of all recruitment invoking the Scarborough bombing massacre, some people would have seen it, as the rallying cry to take up arms, to get yourself over to France and Belgium in the service of the Allied forces.